Hello and welcome to this very exciting episode of Akrinos Access. I'm your host, Eric Matei, joined today by Dr. Jennifer Stewart for what is sure to be an insightful and inspiring episode of Akrinos Access. As Dr. Stewart and I are going to jump into this whole concept of unleashing your mission, vision, and purpose in private practice. And there's many occasions for the smiles today, of which we're going to kind of jump into here shortly. But for starters, Dr. Stewart, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Akrinos Access.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. I know, absolutely. But then by the same token, if you're catching this Monday morning,
yes,
happy Monday and have an awesome week,
whatever
right?
day it is. Whatever day it is.
Well, Dr. Stewart, again, it is a pleasure and a privilege to host you here on this episode of Akrinos Access, as we are looking down a few weeks down the line where you'll be joining us for Business Builder Pathways to Success, delivering the keynote in New York City. And once again, just so excited to have you on this episode of Access. So what do you say we go in and kick off this episode by, well, sharing some big news? You've got some surprises in store. Why don't you please share with us what's going on?
Well, normally I'd be joining you from my home office with like my fancy lighting, but today I'm joining you, and this is not a virtual background, so this is a real background. It kind of looks virtual though when I do that. It is real.
It does.
I'm joining you live from Look New Canaan, my brand new cold start practice that is opening the doors hopefully any day now. We are, my team is right through that door, scheduling appointments right now. We should be opening hopefully in a week or two. So my brand new cold start, amazing dream practice. I'm joining you from one of my consult rooms, and I'm really excited.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Stewart, congratulations on building this. And I say, you know, what you are doing in this path that you have gone down is the path that so many doctors have gone down and so many doctors aspire to go down. So what do you say we jump into the topic of our episode today? And it's all about, once again, unleashing that mission, vision, and purpose in private practice. You recently wrote one of your professional editorials in Independent Strong around this topic, around finding your why. So maybe we'll take that to kind of kick off this conversation and really just start at, you know, getting into the core of building the business and finding your why. So why don't you start by just like share with us some of your thoughts around that? You know, what is the why, the role of core values, and all these fundamentals, and really laying that foundation for the business?
It was interesting when I was going through this process and going through it with you in developing a business plan. You know, it was something I didn't ever really think about. You know, you go into optometry, you either join a practice, maybe you cold start, or you become an associate, and you don't really think about the why that brought you to that place. Or maybe people do that when they have a cold start, but fast forward 20 years later, and we're like, I don't really know why I'm here. I must have wanted to do this at some point, but it's kind of gotten away from me. So, you know, this is I call it my second career. I was a partner in a private practice for 15 years. And sold that in 2022. So I get to do it all over again. It's like my second career. So I get to start fresh, and I got to really think about, if I were to go back into private practice, I enjoy consulting and speaking and traveling and hopefully inspiring people and being out on the road. And I love that part, but I missed patient care, and I missed this. I missed this cool stuff. And I missed having a practice and seeing my patients and being part of optometry. And I think it really drove me to come back. But then I had to figure out, if I were to do this all over again, what would that look like? How, if you could create the ideal practice situation, how would that look? What would the practice itself look like? What would the equipment that you have look like? What would your team look like who are through that door working hard? What would the services you provide look like? What would the focus of your patient care look like? Who would the patient be that you want to serve? And it's okay to be picky and choosy about that. So I got to have that second go around and think about, who is the person that I want walking through the front door? What does that patient look like? What are they looking for? And I think deeper down, what do I enjoy in optometry? And I think optometry is such an unbelievably wonderful career because there are so many things we can do. But I think kind of being honest with yourself and thinking about what you actually like doing and maybe the parts you don't like doing, how do you build a practice that allows you to do maybe only the things you like to do? So that's my long answer to a short question of my why. But that's really what I thought about. I said, there are parts of optometry that might not be my favorite, but there's parts I like. I absolutely love and I can't stop thinking about, and I work 24/7 on it and it doesn't feel like work. So how do I build a practice to do that and maybe refer the other parts out to other optometrists who feel that way about those patients? And this way it's the best of both worlds for everybody. So that's what I did.
I absolutely love it, and I tell you, you unpacked some really key insights there. I think most notably is recognizing it in the context of modern optometry, where the scope of care is so vast, and the ways to serve your community, you can do so in a myriad ways to kind of figure out, what do I want to do? Because look, we all know, and Dr. Stewart, I think back to when we were collaborating very early on in the vision of, in the process of Look New Canaan, but it is kind of a matter of, where do you fit in as a doctor? What are you going to be most fulfilled in providing? But also there in your community, where is the demand? Where's that unmet demand where doctors are, where patients are looking for that care? So getting in touch with your why can really help to kind of narrow things down, kind of create that funnel, that focus. I think now in business, in any business, is so critical to have if you want to thrive, right? So why don't we talk a little bit about now getting into unpacking this process, right? So I mean, thinking that there's presumably viewers out there, who have their eye on that next step. And by the way, y'all, everything we're talking about here, it applies not only to cold starting or purchasing a practice, but at any stage of your practice life cycle, planning that next phase of growth, maybe adding the associate, maybe adding a location or bringing on a partner. All these same principles apply. So, Dr. Stewart, why don't you share a little bit of what that process looks like? So for someone that's kind of thinking like, yeah, I want to do something big. I know something big on my horizon, but how do I discover my why?
I think first is just thinking about it and thinking, kind of the way I think about it is if somebody offered you, you get to go to any conference in optometry in the US and you get to pick, which one would that be? And what are and we all kind of know, like, I mean, yes, there's super fun conferences, but it's like, what are you looking to learn? And not just to go for CE, not just to go for, the most bang for my buck, or how can I get the most, take CE out of the picture, take learning for checking the boxes, take that off the table. But if you could go to any conference, be surrounded by people who are passionate about a part of optometry, what would that be? Is there a conference you want to go to? And I think that's kind of, I think deep down, we all know, I think we all know what we enjoy doing. And it's just, it's kind of being honest and being true to ourselves that it might not be all of optometry, or there's things I really enjoy learning about, but there's some things that like, it's not, I do it because it's like part of my CE and I have to do it. But I think the other piece would be sitting down and making a list. If I could create my dream practice, what would that patient look like? What is the patient I want to most take care of? Or think about your week of seeing patients. What patients did you really enjoy? Who did you look forward to seeing? And not necessarily their personality, but the care aspect. Sure. And then there might be patients you look at the schedule and not the personality, but that's not my favorite part. I mean, the personality too, and really starting to hone in on what you enjoy doing, what doesn't feel like work as much. And I think there's so much, I think you're right. Optometry is so broad right now, and there's so much expansion of scope and care, which is so awesome and so exciting. But it can also be really overwhelming, because I think we have this tendency to feel that because we can do everything, we should do everything. and our practices should be everything to everybody. And I don't think that's necessarily true. And it might be that maybe the practice is everything to everybody, but you have, and not even a niche or a specialty, but maybe there's a patient segment that you take care of. For me, I'm a unique bird. I always say I love optical. I think I was an optician before I went to optometry school. I think the optical industry is unbelievable. I think what a gift we have to be able to provide people with unbelievable eyewear and to have a retail part of our business. We are so lucky to be able to have the balance of medical and retail. I don't shy away from it. I don't apologize about it. I'm not embarrassed. I fully embrace it. So one of the focuses at Look is a high-end optical, because there is, when I think about my dream conference and my dream place to be, it used to be Vision Expo, but it's even now, I want to go to Europe and go to, a huge eyewear show and be around the people who are designing eyewear and understand the development and the design and the production of eyewear, what makes it different. That's what makes me happy. That's not every optometrist, and it doesn't have to be. I love hearing about new lens technology and understanding where it comes from and figuring out how to support other small independent businesses. The focus at Look in the optical is independent. We're an independent small business, so we support other independent small businesses, both on the frame side and on the lab side. So I'm very specific about the brands I work with. And that's what gives me great joy and great passion. That doesn't mean that every optometrist is dying to be the person running their optical, but understanding what makes you excited and being honest about it. If it's not dry eye, but everyone's talking about IPL, should you get an IPL just because you can? If you're not super excited about it and it feels like a lot of work to develop that part of the practice, it might be where you have to take a hard look in the mirror and say, just because I can do something doesn't mean I actually have to, or am I going to buy this and it's just going to sit because I don't have that passion to bring that part of my practice to life. So I think we're so lucky. Vision Expo is coming up. You walk into the, Vision Expo, every person wants to sell you something, right? And it's so exciting to think, oh my gosh, I need all this cool technology, and the reps are easy to tell you, how to make money doing it. But unless you have, I think, this deep-seated passion to really make that work and to feel this is what I want to do and this is the person I want to help, it can be an uphill battle to make that work. And it doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but I think we put ourselves in such a difficult position to feel that because we can do things, we have to do it. But I think if you focus on, I think we all deep down know what we like to do, but it's hard to say that and to be honest about it. So I think that's really the first step.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. And, there's two really cool points that you raised there. One of them brings me back to, I believe you were on an episode of Access maybe about a year and a half ago. We were talking about authenticity, right? Because as you were sharing that, Dr. Stewart, that's just what kept ringing in my head, right? Particularly from the standpoint, you're referencing some of these ideas of, hey, maybe there's something that you're capable of doing. Does it necessarily mean that you should be doing it if it's not really fulfilling you, right? Be authentic in you and your pursuits, right? And then that raises the second key point that I picked up on there. And that was, as far as discovering your why, balancing the professional why, what's going to derive that professional fulfillment, clinical care, taking care of patients, but then also the personal why, right? There's got to be that balance of the personal fulfillment with the professional fulfillment. And together in entrepreneurship, that then can establish the why that's going to be the foundation to establish your business. So
then I think that's where you can then, I think there's so much talk about having a vision statement, our values and our mission statement. And I think so many people just kind of are like, oh gosh, I need that for my business plan, or, I think I have one in a drawer somewhere, or it's hard, but like ours, but that is what we used. All those thought processes. I didn't sit down and go, okay, I have to write a vision statement for a practice. I sat down and thought, okay, what is my vision for the practice? And did all that homework and then created. So our vision statement, I have it in front of me. Our vision is to transform patients' lives through customized care, innovative technology, and exceptional eyewear.
Love it.
That's my vision.
Absolutely
That's
love
me.
it. Love it. Love
And
it.
and whenever I have to make a decision about what I'm doing as a cold start, I think it really helps also these statements and thinking about your mission, vision, and values. Not only is it helpful to have for a business plan or to have on your website to look, nice to show your patients, but I think anytime you make a decision in the practice, especially as a cold start, I mean, I'm bombarded by a million decisions a day. Whenever I'm deciding what I want to do, I go back to that and say, what was my vision? What was I thinking when I did this all? And does this rep who wants me to bring something in, does this, I'm trying to think, do I do this? Do I do that? Does it fit my vision? And I go back to that over and over and over. And if it doesn't fit that vision, then I know it's a hard no for me. So it makes the decisions, these overwhelming decisions that we have in a cold start or an established practice who's in a transition period or looking to grow a business, looking to add an associate, I don't know what to do. It makes those decisions easier, not easy, but easier because you have kind of this guiding principle that is what you're using to make those decisions. So I think if you don't have a vision statement, or if you haven't dusted it off for a while, maybe you have one, but your vision's changed over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. This is a great time at the beginning of the year to maybe sit down with your team and think about, what's our vision for this practice? What do we want to become? What's our mission? What are we here for? And what are the values we stand for? And maybe include your team. As a cold start, it was me and Gus, my husband, team of 2 doing this. But if you have a team, it's a great way to kind of see what your team feels about your practice. And it gives you kind of that guiding light to make sure that the decisions you're making are authentic, not only to you, but to the practice.
Yeah, really, it's really powerful also to consider how, and I know you've for our viewers out there, go check out Dr. Stewart's written some really great articles on these topics as well. You can find them in Independent Strong. I think a few other publications and blogs they've been around. But delineating between vision, mission, and purpose, and recognizing how those together provide a really simple rubric for decision making when at times there may be some other things that are just really complicating decisions. I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it how you said that, like, that's a guiding light for making decisions. I mean, and when we consider that we're living in a time where with access to so much data, we can go down these little rabbit holes of figuring things out, optimizing things. What's the best decision? What's the right decision? But in so doing, at times overlook the basics of, hey, does this even fit the vision of what we truly want to do? So that's some really awesome insights. And perhaps at Business Builder, when you're delivering your keynote, you can elaborate on some of this as well.
I don't want to give it all away. What if I gave away my whole keynote just now? Like, I could talk about this for hours, so I'm sure I'll come up with something new.
But it'll be totally different when we're all together with a bunch of like-minded entrepreneurial ECPs and industry experts all together for those business workshops. Okay, so hang on, back into now you got me just like daydreaming about how awesome Business Builder is going to be. By the way, y'all, if y'all want to get on a Business Builder, be sure you head over to akrinos.com, get registered. Thanks to our generous sponsors, we're now offering your ticket free of charge to join us at the Business Builder. As a matter of fact, just this afternoon, we had 2 more doctors register to join us at Business Builder. So super exciting. Okay, so moving along here. Once again, we're talking about unleashing your mission, vision, and purpose in private practice with Dr. Jen Stewart. And now let's apply these concepts to different facets of the practice. We can talk about building the team. We can talk about impacting and customizing that patient journey. We can talk about day-to-day operations. You've already mentioned as far as aligning with strategic partners and vendors. So why don't you kind of share your perspective on how mission, vision, and purpose informs, again, some of these more functional areas of the practice?
So I definitely think it helps narrow down the choice. It can be so overwhelming, both as a cold start or, practice at any stage, to know the products. And I think that can be overwhelming. What frame vendors should I have? Should I go by their discount or their brand name, or I don't even know how to choose. I think that can help guide that. I think on the lens side, definitely, I'm partnering with an independent lab, family owned, Three Rivers Optical. So that, I think to me that helps with my branding. It helps with my storytelling, and it will help me really help explain patients the decisions we're making. On the staffing side, everything, we have the luxury of having time right now. We are not seeing patients yet. So we do have the luxury of time. I have 3 team members currently, my office manager, I have an optician, and my tech. I have another optician joining in 2 weeks. So I've had the luxury, which most people don't have, of kind of endless staff meetings and time. But when I brought them on, I shared in the interview, I shared my vision and what I, and then brought them over to a construction zone and said, I know you can't see it yet, but it's coming. But everything that I'm teaching them stems from that vision, and storytelling is big for me. So on the staff training side, I'm having every brand that we represent come in and meet with my teams for a one-on-one training so we can tell their story. Because for me, it's not about putting a frame on a face and saying, your insurance covers this or the cost of this. It's understanding the why behind the product. So our practice is focused on storytelling. So I'm having everybody go through storytelling, and your reps would love to do this. It's not just for cold starts. They would love the opportunity to sit with your team and teach them about their products. They want to. So don't reinvent the wheel. Don't feel you have to go on the website and learn it and teach your staff. Ask your reps to come in and do a 20-minute training about their brand. What makes their product, it doesn't have to be frames, what makes their product different? What are 3 talking points that we can share with our patients to help them understand why they should have this? And I think we have to do everything and figure it out, but there's people out there who want to help us and are just looking for that opportunity. So storytelling is huge. Everything in this office is from the design to the equipment to the location to what it looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like. Everything is authentic and has a design piece, but it's all about storytelling. So I'm a huge storyteller. I love storytelling for everything in optometry. But for me, that was a big focus in here, was not just to be focused on the products, but to help people understand why we might not be taking all their insurance or why we're doing this. But if we can do it with storytelling, but I go back to my vision about transforming patients' lives through customized care. This is not cookie cutter care. This is a truly customized approach. So when I go back to that vision statement, it helps me understand, okay, this is the right way to spend my time. That's one piece.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have like 50, so that's one.
I really like how you tie it back to a word that was popping out as you were going through touched on each of these points, right? The degree to which mission, vision, and purpose can position you and really impact how you build your team. It can impact that patient experience. It can certainly inform operations, partnerships and vendors and what have you. But something that kept resonating with me through all of that is connection, right? Because when you're in touch with your mission, vision, purpose, professionally and personally, as you're bringing that to the forefront in your business, it's going to position your business and yourself as professional and leader of that business to be able to connect with people in ways that you just couldn't. If it was all just dollars and cents, you could not connect in that transactional manner. And, another really great, important, critical piece to bring up here is that now more than ever, when increasingly services and products are available through a plethora of different avenues, what is going to have your practice stand out and differentiate your practice? And this doesn't even get us on this whole topic of managed care and why patients are coming to you. Different topic for another conversation, right?
We'll set it up. But when we hang up, we'll set up another one.
There we go. But still, through it all, the root fundamentals, even before putting pen to paper and creating a financial forecast, feasibility analysis, before even getting into doing any sort of deep analytics and competitive market analysis and developing the plan, before all of that, getting in touch with these concepts of mission, vision, and purpose. So let's now apply this, because you've spoken to this primarily through the lens of cold start, right? Because that's what you've been entrenched in for a good bit now, and and pulling the family in. I know you had the boys cleaning.
My kids were here dusting shelves, vacuuming, doing their homework here. So family affair.
I love it. By the way, for our audience out there, be sure to find Look New Canaan on the socials. I know I had come across it the other week in, I guess, Facebook land or something.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, we're on there. We just got our first patient yesterday who found us through Instagram. First new patient. Sent us a message and said, we came across your Instagram. Are you open? My family wants to become a patient.
Love it.
So it works.
Love it.
I'm not like, I think, on that side, just be authentic and just post fun stuff. And people naturally are curious and gravitate towards that. So I am not a social media, I'm not great at social media, but I'm learning, and it's fun, and people do respond to it. So if you're nervous about it, just start posting fun, authentic things, and you'll see that people are quite interested in finding out about you. So
absolutely. Absolutely. So now let's apply some of these concepts, because we've applied everything from the standpoint of a cold start, but now let's maybe apply these concepts to doctors who are like, hey, I've been in practice for a number of years, but I'm ready for that next phase of growth. I'm ready for the what's next, that next business milestone for my practice. Why don't you share your thoughts a little bit on how getting in touch and rediscovering, or perhaps discovering for the first time, that mission, vision, and purpose can be the foundation for the established practice owner to hit that next level, that next milestone?
I think it's great to, I think about it as a cold start, but I won't say it's even more important, but just as important, I think about, I had a practice for 15 years. So I've been in both cases. But I think it's harder when you're an established patient or established practice, because it's hard to take the time to think about it. But I think it's so important to maybe take 15 minutes and sit and think about, what do I want to do next? Maybe it's longer than 15 minutes. I know Nathan Hayes would say a block of 4 hours. So maybe it's a little longer. But, think about what that phase looks like. If there was something, if you could do anything in optometry, what would that be, other than maybe retire? But that could be your plan too. I mean, that's the next phase. What would that look like? And if you're not there, how do you get there? And maybe, I had 2 associates. So when I brought in associates, for me, that was an opportunity I did this, but I didn't think about how I was doing it. I thought about if I could take some patients off of my schedule and focus on other patients. I mean, I wasn't sitting down going, what's my mission, vision, and values? But I did it when they came on and said, if there were patients that I could move to them to increase their, to have them see patients, but to also take some things that I don't necessarily love seeing, and they want to see, can I, move those patients to them, and then free up more time to either see more patients that I like to see, or maybe it's carve out time for me to sit down and work on the business instead of work in the business. I think so many of us are so, I don't even have, Dr. Stewart, what you're saying is great. And that's awesome for you as a cold start, but I don't have the time. So I challenge you to think about, how could you make that time? What could you do to do that? And it's not that I have 30 hours in a day. I had, a huge practice too, but how can you carve out that time? Because I think carving out that time is essential to get to that next spot. It can be, we're churning out, seeing patients, managing staff. It's horrible. It's really hard right now. And the next week, and another year goes by, and we haven't done what we want to do. How can we even carve out an hour a week? Maybe that's, kind of just, however that looks. Maybe it is adding an associate. Maybe it's as simple as, maybe thinking about dropping your lowest paying insurance plan. And that's scary and terrifying, but what if you did that? Maybe, yes, you'll see less patients, but can you condense your schedule and give yourself that CEO time to then think about how to build that practice and then start building that side of the practice that you want, that makes you excited, and you have that time. So I think first is being honest and thinking about what you want to do, and taking, maybe an hour to put pen to paper and say, what are the patients I enjoy seeing? What could I give up and not be too sad about it? Okay, I've determined that. So now how do I do that? And I think the other thing to consider is you don't have to do this alone. And I think optometry, we often feel this huge burden that we need to do it all alone. I don't do any of this alone. I have great people to surround myself with and support me. This is where, if you're not sure and you don't know what to do, having a consultant can help you. Sometimes having an unemotional, unbiased, analytical person to look at your practice and say, like, here's some ideas that you could do. It's really hard when you're in the practice to make those decisions. So I think my biggest piece of advice is don't feel like that you have to, think of this and implement and do it all on your own. You don't have to, and I don't think you should. You think about CEOs of major companies and C-suite executives, they have performance coaches, and they have a whole team to help support them to make these big decisions. And we feel as CEOs of our practice that we have to figure it out on our own. Find really good friends who are smarter than you, who are super successful, and surround yourself with people that you can ask silly questions and get really honest feedback. I have a really great group of friends that I text daily. I think I've gotten 2 texts already during this, because I know that I can ask them questions and they can ask me questions, and we can work through all these things together. So I think, not feeling that, feeling like, okay, this is something I want to do, but being terrified of doing it by yourself, invest maybe in the financial of hiring a consultant. If that, that can be such a great opportunity. It does cost money, which is okay. It's okay the money invested will pay off dividends in your personal and professional life. So don't feel that you have to kind of sit down and do this on your own. There are people who can help guide you and do it. We're emotional. This is our business. It's our baby. It's our lives. It's our practice. So it can be really hard sometimes to look at those decisions and figure out where to go next and do it without this emotion. So having somebody to help you do that can be essential too.
Well, I mean, so many insights that you just unpacked there. I mean, I think it starts with, once again, talking about applying mission, vision, purpose for the established practice. Hey, we're already humming along. We've been doing this for years, what have you. It starts with simply making the time, giving yourself the space to step out, look at the business rather than look in the business, position yourself to be able to work on the business rather than in the business. But it truly starts with what you just said, Dr. Stewart, and that is, you got to give yourself the time, make the space, right? From there, a couple of other things you mentioned, and that is building your team, right? In the same way you reference C-suite executives, they have a team of coaches, a team of advisors. And, at any phase of practice life cycle as a business owner, you should have a team. And by the way, I suppose business owner sans optometry practice, whether it's an optometry practice or a kiosk in the mall selling cell phone cases, they're certain members you want on your team supporting your business, right? Consultants, advisors, CPA, legal,
Yes.
What have you. And then the third thing that I really think should never be overlooked, and I personally am a huge fan of, I think you know this, Dr. Stewart, and that is the role of community and the role of having colleagues that you can look to and bounce ideas off of, right? And by the same time, also being sure that community are people that are going to shoot you straight, right? We don't just want people that are going to kind of blow you full of hot air, fluff your ego. That does no one good, right?
And I think also making sure it's the right people. I think the great thing about social media is having an unbelievable community, which we didn't have, 10 years ago, and connecting with so many optometrists, I'd be very cautious of asking advice from the vast majority of people. Asking advice is fine. I'd just be hesitant to act on that, especially in the legal and financial world. Having a good attorney, a good accountant, and a good financial advisor, I think, are so essential. I see so many people asking legal advice on social media forums and taking that advice. I would say, invest in a good attorney. Yes, it will cost you money, but in that team, making sure you have professional representation and not just so-and-so on a Facebook group suggested I, do this with my financial future, or they said a non-compete isn't valid, or they said that, this will happen, or I can do this. I would just be so cautious about taking advice and applying that advice to your financial and professional future. I think this is a case to really have a good outside team for all of those questions. So
Absolutely.
The world of social media is wonderful. It's absolutely a little terrifying when I read some things and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have a great attorney. If I have a question, I shoot her an email. Yes, it cost me for 15 minutes of her time, but I can sleep better at night knowing I'm making the right decision.
Absolutely. Wow, Dr. Stewart, so many great insights and so much inspiration in this conversation as well. Well, I feel like we could go on and on
forever.
And you know what? We're going to get the opportunity to do so in a few weeks. March the 14th, Thursday, March the 14th, Dr. Jennifer Stewart. We are honored to host Dr. Stewart as our keynote speaker at the inaugural Business Builder Pathways to Success for Modern ECPs. Once again, head on over to Akrinos.com. You can get all the details and get registered for that. But before we go, Dr. Stewart, I mean, here you are. You're starting over. I mean, in reading your article, again, viewers, y'all got to check out. Go check out that recent issue of Independent Strong when Dr. Stewart breaks the news of opening Look New Canaan, and it's amazing to see what you've done. It's amazing to see the impact you continue to have on the industry as a professional editor of Independent Strong. I know you're on advisory boards with so many marvelous organizations around the industry, and now most recently, congratulations on launching Look New Canaan. So, any closing words before we send off here? Any closing words on what doctors can take away to discover their why, to bring their visions to reality?
I'd say don't feel bad if it's not everything that you want to do in your practice. Really be honest, and maybe over the weekend, or if you're watching this on Monday, take some time and reflect about what really makes you excited in optometry, and on that other side, what you don't like. That's okay. It's okay. I tell students that I tell whenever I speak to students, I say, it is okay that when you graduate, like there's stuff you don't like in school, right? There's classes you don't enjoy that you kind of dread. It's okay if in optometry there are parts that you're not super passionate about. That's okay. The benefit is that you can really focus on what you like. Find people who are good at the other stuff and make sure you refer to them. We should be referring to each other, referring to other ODs. Build up your community of professionals in your area that you can send to for other people who are passionate. But I think really, no matter if you're a student, a new grad, an associate in a practice, whatever practice setting that is, if you are a cold start, an established practice, or somebody who's, transitioning out and wants to, enjoy their last few years, think about what that patient looks like, what that schedule would look like. What would you love a day full of in your practice? If you came in, you look at the schedule and you're like, whoever scheduled this, you get a raise. Like, it's just the type of exams that I can't wait to see. If that's not what your schedule looks like right now, take some time, set aside an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, and think about what you need to do to get there, because that's your why. You don't have to sit down and think, what's my why? But the why is that group of patients. Why do I enjoy that so much? Oh, I love that. I love learning about that. That's your why. And now how do we transform our practice? It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen by Monday, but how do I now take those steps to putting that into play and figuring out who I might need to help support me? I don't have to go at it alone. Involve your team to help you, but also involve, outside of optometry. Don't feel that it's only you that has this burden. But I think if we start to think about what really brings us joy and realize that we can build a practice around that I think it's just good for us. It's good for our patients. It's good for optometry. And that's where I'll end. So.
Dr. Jennifer Stewart, thank you so much. What an insightful, inspiring episode of Access here. As we were talking about unleashing your mission, vision, and purpose in private practice. Folks, if you want to connect with Dr. Stewart, continue the conversation with her. You can connect with her on LinkedIn.
There it is.
Jennifer Stewart OD there in LinkedIn land. And be sure to head on over to Look New Canaan as well and hook up with Look New Canaan on the socials. See all the incredible things that they are up to. And it all started with that mission, vision, and purpose, finding the why. So that does it. I forgot. I had something really profound that I was going to say, and it kind of fleeted there.
We've said everything profound, and now I get to spend the rest of the afternoon doing all the exciting stuff. I was I can hear my team, so we're going to go continue to work on building our plan for opening, but I will say it doesn't feel like work when it's something you enjoy, and I want to be here, and I love looking like my door color. I love that. That was a big. That, even things like that bring me joy because there's a very specific purpose. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I love that door. So even just the design brings me joy. So, but I look forward to seeing everybody March 14th. I look forward to our last hurrah in New York for Vision Expo. So I look forward to seeing everybody at the summit. So.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely outstanding. Also, we do have a comment here.
Oh,
I love you. So I believe your friend and colleague, Dr. Allie Markowski,
hi, Allie,
up there in Connecticut. Dr. Markowski, she is the owner of Connecticut Vision Associates, I believe is her practice. And she says that she is so excited to see all of your success.
Thank you, Allie. And Allie has been a huge inspiration for me as well. A fellow cold start, although she's been at it a few years, but has totally crushed it in upstate Connecticut. So I am also inspired by a lot of my colleagues. So thank you, Allie. Allie's one I reach out to and ask questions, and we have a nice text chain as well. So thank you, Allie.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, Dr. Stewart, have an amazing few weeks here. Cannot wait to connect at Business Builder in a few weeks. For our viewers out there, connect with Dr. Stewart there in LinkedIn. Head on over to looknewcanaan.com. See all the cool things that they are doing at her new practice. And for more practice management insights and business strategy and inspiration like this, head on over to Akrinos.com. Subscribe to the Akrinos YouTube channel. Follow us on the socials, and be sure to claim your seat at Business Builder Pathways to Success, March 14th, 2024, when Dr. Jennifer Stewart is going to take this to the next level for all of our attendees. So, Dr. Stewart, thank you so much.
Have a great week.